might be the lord of the kaiju rising. Throw it right back when I fight you, lightning. Breaking all the plans when I'm fusing with the lads. Yeah, mega kaiju breaking right through. It's frightening. North Japan, I'm the bomb. How these kiddies crying to their moms. Alien, heading straight to Fuji when I roll up. Scary and eating every human fruit roll up. Only 4 from the 3 you ain't messing with.
Alright, welcome to another delectable episode of Kaiju Theater with Hobbs Horror here. And I figured, since I'm starting to learn these things, I might as well go back and start from the beginning and then work my way up when I can. I know there's going to be times I'm going to have to skip around, but let's start right from the beginning. Right now, we are watching the 1956 American dubbed version of the 1994 classic, the first Godzilla King of the Monsters film, with a runtime of 1 hour and 20 minutes, written and directed by Ishiro Honda. Now, I didn't watch this by itself. This was Sven Ghoul. If you guys know Sven Ghoul, he is a horror host. It was a recording that I had where he had this particular episode on there. And I was able to learn a little bit about the background, about the American dubbed version of the original Godzilla. The 1954 version was the version from Japan, and Godzilla was originally 100 feet. In the American version, they made him 400 plus feet. And they added Raymond Burr to the film. Raymond Burr did Dragnet, and he was also the main protagonist, antagonist, and Rear Window. A lot of you know Raymond Burr, so let's get into the film. So basically what's happening here is they are doing some atomic bomb testing there in Tokyo, and vessels are being destroyed, up to 1 to 2 at a time, and people are having to run for their lives. So with all this going on, Godzilla is unleashed, and people are already dealing with the terrifying events of the bombs and the vessels being blown up. But all of a sudden now Godzilla shows up out of the water, through the mountains, and he is wreaking havoc, like I said, all over Tokyo. People are fearing their lives. The world is going to be over because the military steps in and they're not able to stop Godzilla. He's destroying buildings. They even build this electrical wire force field with all these jolts of electricity that they think is going to stop him, while planes berate him, and he just walks right past it like it's nothing. And so they're running out of options here. Meanwhile, there's this scientist that has been doing some experiments. And Dr. Serizawa is the one that has this experiment he's running with fish to where they lose oxygen and they get sucked down into this portal underneath the water of disintegration, and they lose oxygen and they die. So he believes it is the one thing, spoiler alert, that could possibly take out Godzilla. Most of you have seen this film, so if you don't want to know the rest, this is a spoiler alert. So basically what they have to do at this point is figure out a way to do this, but he's reluctant to do this because it's his secret, and quite frankly, some people don't want Godzilla to be dead, even though he's destroying the world. Finally, Serizawa says, you know what, I need to do this to save people. So now, Raymond Burr's character, also known as Steve Martin in the film, which I thought was creative, is trying to convince him. He's also trying to do kind of reporting of these events and whatnot. He was added, and he only was on the set for about 10 days to the film for the American version, just to give it some flavor. So he's trying to convince Umiko, which is a person that Serizawa was interested in. It's a girl. She finally helps him convince him to do it. So they set up this oxygen trap for Godzilla, and finally things start to happen. And I'm not going to say the ending because most of you know it, but man, I tell you what, this was an absolute blast. I absolutely love this movie. I'm really getting into these kaiju films. I really don't know what took me so long to get into them, but I'll be honest with you, when I watched this movie if I would have watched this when I was younger, or people that did not really have a lot of options or knew much about horror or monsters, this would have terrified me. Just the black and white. It really wasn't cheesy. It was Godzilla was on a rampage in this film. Very destructive, and it was fantastic, honestly. And I absolutely loved every minute of it. Savinguli added some fun and some tidbits to it. It was a good way to have a Friday night to watch it with Savinguli. But yeah, I just absolutely love this. I probably won't watch the 1954 version. I may, but I know that some of my friends, like Casey, he prefers the 56 version. Let me know which version you guys prefer. I know that one of the reasons Casey told me is that some of the buildings weren't as tall back then in the 54, and I understand that, but this really was good. I'm definitely going to revisit it, and I'm having a blast with these kaiju films. Anyways, let me know what you think of Godzilla 56 or even Godzilla 54, or just the franchise of kaiju in general for Godzilla, or just kaiju films in general. This is Hobbs Horror. I'm going to catch up with you guys later. Have a wonderful weekend, and peace.